All right. This is Danila Sands with MendoLake Complex Fire Relief, a disaster resource center in Mendocino County. And we are doing a series of emergency preparedness webinars. And today we are meeting with Scott CRATTY, Executive Director of Mendocino County Fire Safe Council. He will give a presentation, and when he is done, we'll open it up to Facebook comments. And if you've joined us on Zoom, there is a question and answer section. We will also answer questions there directly to him. So Scott CRATTY, you can go ahead and start. Thank you for coming.
Great, thank you for the opportunity. And we pretty much covered the first slide there, so I'm going to move on. So I am director of the Mendocino County Fire Safe Council, and our mission is to inform, empower, and mobilize county residents to survive and thrive in a wildfire-prone environment. And since part of what we do is helping help people get prepared for wildfires, I'm going to go through a little bit, kind of a two-half program. I'm going to go through what we do now, so you know what we're doing and what's available, and then focus in particularly on the community involvement part of what we do, that hopefully you will all get involved in yourself. So through our mission, we do operations, including in developing neighborhood fire safe councils, which is what I'm going to talk about later. We do outreach and education. We've got a lot of material up on our website and more being added almost daily. We plan and implement large projects countywide. We do it through funding from a huge array of sources. As you can see on the screen, we get significant help from the County of Mendocino, from the Community Foundation, and from numerous other grantees. We just got another little grant from Pacific Gas and Electric yesterday. Through those things, what we do are, we manage large road clearing projects and fuel breaks. So we've got several of those going on now. I like to say there's like two major ways we can make big things happen. One is by landing a lot of grant money and bringing in a large machine and crew. And the other is by getting a whole lot of people with shovels and rakes in neighborhoods. And you can accomplish the same thing in the same amount of time both ways, and we need to be doing both. Our largest project at the moment is called the Ukiah Valley Fire Fuels Reduction Project. We've cleared, I believe, this fall, summer and fall, something in the line of like 11 miles of road on the east and west sides of Ukiah. We're about to move on to doing off-road fuel breaks coming further into fall. We are doing similar program in Anderson Valley and a lot of work up in the Brook Trails area and on Williams Ranch Road. So we have crews working in a lot of different places. We have a community chipper program, which is a good one to know about. We are doing a lot of chipping right now. The chipper program's up and running. We have our own chipper, and we organize those primarily around neighborhoods that organize themselves. So if you get a bunch of neighbors together and do a bunch of defensible space clearing, a huge problem with that is then you have a bunch of material that you either have to pay for somebody to chip, which is very expensive, or haul. And so if you organize your neighborhood to do that, we can come do that for you in a group, in a kind of a day event. We also have a brand new program we're in the process of rolling out right now to provide defensible space for income qualified folks who are either senior or disabled. So we just closed actually the round of applications for that, and we're beginning the assessment process and beginning to work on that project. We are working on a series of videos with folks from the UC system on how to harden your home and prepare for fires. You'll see those showing up on our website over the next month. We have a ton of other ongoing programs, including you can order a reflective address sign to help emergency responders find you when it's dark and they're from outside of the area. You can order those on our website. We have lots of literature, including a brand new version of the Living with Wildfire in Mendocino County that you can see on our website. We have a membership program. We assist with community projects and mitigation planning. We're working with the county right now on helping to craft an abatement ordinance. We help form neighborhood councils, as I mentioned. Lots of other programs. One exciting one to look out for coming up. I think our first program's October 27th. There is going to be a Mendocino County Fire Safe Council radio program on KZYX. We'll bring a lot more in-depth information. Here are the sort of summary of the 4 things we organize around trying to get people to do. One is home hardening. Quite related to that is defensible space. One of the things that people tend to think incorrectly about wildfire is that homes are mostly damaged when fire comes sweeping through the area. Actually, most homes that burn down in wildfires are burned down from embers drifting from a fire that can be happening as far as a mile away. So home hardening is the practice of looking at your home and making sure that its surfaces are as unfriendly to embers as possible. And there's a whole process to go through, starting with your roof and then your vents, and then clearing defensible space around your home, making sure particularly in the first 5 feet around your home that there's nothing flammable if possible, because embers tend to hit the corner of the building and come down and pile in those corners. So if there's nothing for them to burn there, you substantially increase the likelihood that your home will survive a wildfire. I'm not going to dwell, those 2 topics are being tackled in a discussion later by Michael Jones from the UC system, so we're not going to delve into those in depth today, but there is a ton of material on our website and available about those generally. Same with personal and family planning, and that means, you know, having your emergency plan, having your emergency routes mapped out, having your to-go kit, having a plan for your pets, etc. We have a ton of material about that, and you can Google Ready, Set, Go, and CAL FIRE's got a tremendous amount of good information about that as well that's easy to get to. What I'm going to focus on today is something that's more specific to the Fire Safe Council, which is neighborhood organization. And neighborhood organization is all about creating your own neighborhood Fire Safe Council and getting that going in your area. Why should you do that? You should do that for a lot of reasons. One is that wildfire is a community event. Your home is as vulnerable as the home down the road from it. As I mentioned earlier, most fires start from embers. So if the house three doors down is not maintaining itself, has gutters full of things that are going to catch fire and dead brush around it, if a spark lands and catches that, then, you know, that house will catch the next house, and that house will catch the next house. Once it's going, then radiant heat kicks in. So your neighborhood is safest when you prepare together and help look out for people who need help tending to the fire safety of their homes. And that's kind of what I just talked about. Embers, radiant heat, and direct flame contact are the ways that fire can get to you. And embers and all of those can come from a hazard that was nearby in your community and not directly on your property. Houses that are closely spaced are particularly vulnerable to radiant heat. So again, you have more of an incentive. Helping neighbors prepare helps you protect yourself. Also, there's a community effort to get in and out of when there are evacuation warnings or hazards. So you want to work together as a community to make sure that the access routes that you and your neighbors will need to get out are clear and accessible in an emergency situation. And those are the same routes that emergency responders will need to be able to get to you. We urge people to form neighborhood councils in their individual neighborhoods for a number of reasons that we'll get into, but one of the main reasons is that when we land grant funding and do these major projects, they tend to focus around people who are already working to help themselves. So when we want to do a road clearing, if there's a neighborhood council that is organized that road so that they can help us do the job of getting landowner permissions and alerting people about how to mark things, that makes it so much easier to do the work in that neighborhood. That means that that's the neighborhood we're going to go to first. So you bump yourself up the priority tree by having done some work to organize your own neighborhood. Let's see, and I already mentioned a bunch of reasons why neighborhoods that are organized are more likely to have a positive outcome. You're also likely to have a much better psychological outcome if there is a disaster in the area, knowing that you've done what you can to help your more vulnerable neighbors through that. So benefits of belonging to a neighborhood council include a bunch of things. First, we give you some benefits. A lot of neighborhood groups have old-fashioned phone trees, which are wonderful, but also really prone to breakdown. It's great to have contact information and know how to get in touch with your neighbors and have a plan for doing that, but there are modern automated systems that you can use to send out a message to everybody and have it repeat until people get it, that are far more effective than relying on the next person in the chain to be home and available when an emergency happens. So we have bought, on behalf of Mendocino County Neighborhood Fire Safe Councils, a large charity rate discount to one of those programs, and we can help you get set up with an automated program for that. One of the big things that I'll focus on is our neighborhood leadership meetings. When your neighborhood has a council, the folks that are running that get invited to our leadership meetings, which are actually pretty exciting and great exchanges of information. And what we discover happens is if the different neighborhoods kind of inspire each other with when they talk about the projects that they're working on. So it's motivational. I already mentioned that you kind of get bumped up the priority list for when we have funding for projects. You also find out about them first. Folks who have neighborhood councils, like for example, the senior program that I mentioned and disabled program, that word about that went out first to our organized neighborhood groups so that they had a chance to get folks in their neighborhoods enrolled early. We can also provide one-day insurance for neighborhood groups when you organize your own work parties. So we can help with your liability on that. We can also provide a fiscal sponsorship umbrella. We're a 501c3. So if you're affiliated with us, we can help if you want to apply for your own grants or do fundraising. What does it take to get a neighborhood council going? It can be a little or a lot. Each neighborhood council is unique. Your neighborhood council might do an informational potluck gathering and distribute some literature once a year. And that's good. If that's as much as you do, you can invite speakers and we can help with that. You can do tons more. You can develop neighborhood tours and help each other assess what the hazard areas are and how to address them. You can develop phone trees and hazard maps and neighborhood shutoff locations for emergencies so that people know where to turn off the gas if their neighbor's not home, for example. We talked about the phone tree. Escape routes can be super specific to neighborhoods. In your neighborhood, perhaps the best escape route is going to be through some particular person's backyard if you have to go west. Or so it's best to sort of sit down and really think about that in a very specific manner for where you are. And also to identify the closest available safe havens in case the main route out of your area is blocked. Where can you gather safely together? You can hold classes. You can plan work parties. I've seen a couple of the neighborhoods on the east side of Ukiah have done work parties recently and can accomplish a tremendous amount in a short period of time. And you can work together to document and have ready on the shelf projects that you need funding for, so we have those ready. And you can also, if you want to get more formal, you can become a Firewise USA recognized network. We have a number of those in the county. And that kicks it up to yet another level. So you can do a little bit, you can do a lot. We have the whole range of them in the county and they're all great and doing good work. And I think with that, I've talked through the time for the presentation part of it. I'm gonna get back here and park on the slide with contact information and we can go through more if we need to, but I also want to make sure there's time for questions. So how does the question part work?
Hi, do you want to be able to show your video and stop the screen share and then we can ask questions?
We don't have a video to present at this point. I'm just
No, I mean, can you turn on your video?
Oh,
to see you and then stop the screen share?
Sure, I thought my video was on, but let me stop the share.
There you go. Perfect. Okay. Thank you. That was really well done. Thank you. A lot of information there in that short amount of time. That's great. I
Thanks.
didn't realize how much you guys do. That's awesome.
We're doing a crazy amount of stuff. There's quite a few projects we didn't even touch on there, but yeah, we've got quite a number of things going on, and we are in neighborhoods all over the place. And with the smoke that's going on now, we are also just we're doing rejuggling. We were supposed to be doing a road clearing on Williams Ranch Road today, and it's just the air there is too hazardous. So we're constantly sort of scrambling and shifting crews around in addition to the other projects.
Right. So a couple questions that we have so far, and I want to remind everyone that's on Zoom right now and watching us on Facebook that you can ask us questions, and we will ask Scott Cratty, who is the Executive Director of the Mendocino County Fire Safe Council. We'll ask him directly your questions live. You will definitely, we can get those questions to him after. Once this is aired on Facebook, it'll be viewable long-term and also on the YouTube channel. So some of the questions that we have had come in is, how many fire councils do we have in Mendocino County?
I believe at the moment we have something like 26 or 27 organized neighborhood councils. And the way to check that out, if you go to our website, which is firesafemendocino.org, there is under, let me make sure I get the right, oh, actually, we just moved it. We just rearranged everything. So we've got one of the top tabs at the top is Prepare Your Neighborhood, and one under that is Join a Neighborhood Fire Safe Council. And when you click on that, let me make sure it's still where I think it is. Yep, a map comes up and there are pins dropped on there for all of the existing councils. So as a first step, you can zoom in on that map for your area and see if there's an existing council that's nearby you. And if so, you want to get connected with them, you can get in touch with us. If there's not one, then the next thing under Prepare Your Neighborhood is Start a Neighborhood Fire Safe Council. So if there's not one near you, you can click on that and start to read through the information about how to start a council. It's a super easy application.
That's great. So can any community start a fire safe council? What is the quick requirements? Is it a section? Is it a region? And how much funds should they have in their pocket to start such a thing?
No funds are required. It just requires a couple of people who are willing to put in some elbow grease and connect with their neighbors. And it is, like Mendocino, overall, every council is unique. There are huge ones. The Western Hills in Ukiah has a huge organized group that has a bunch of subgroups. Sherwood Firewise is up in Brook Trails, has a massive communication system and infrastructure and all kinds of things going on. And then some of these are just, a handful of neighbors. My neighborhood group on Vichy meets a couple of times a year. We, did a big broom clearing project recently, but it's very informal and small. So what you really need is just one to a handful of people who want to get something going in their neighborhood and make it a little safer.
That's great. Okay. So, and then the next question came in. Someone saw something about Listos on your PowerPoint. Do you partner with Listos?
We are a recipient of a grant through NCO and Listos, so they're kind of all bundled together. So, and as part of that grant project, that's the grant actually funding that's helping us put together a series of videos on home hardening that we're hoping to, the goal is, and hopefully this will come together. We're hoping to have those ready by the start of November. And we are hoping to have a rollout webinar, one in each supervisory district, where we'll have some of the UC people who help produce those, and we'll sort of walk people through how to use them. And all of those videos will be have the Listos information up front, since they've helped us with the funding for that project. We are. I mean, their message and their basics for preparedness are 100% in line with Cal Fire's Ready, Set, Go, and exactly part of the message we try to get out as well.
That's great. Okay. I think you touched on this one a little bit, like how to start one. The first step they would take is to go on that website.
Yeah, go on the website and just read through the Start a Neighborhood Fire Safe Council section, and then send us an email. The application is super simple. It's one page. We get contacts, we find out what you're interested in, and then we can talk about what, how you want to dip into it. Again, there's no hard and fast requirements, just an interest in doing a little better and getting your neighborhood prepared.
Excellent. Thank you. The next question is, if I was to start working on my property, what would be the first thing I should prioritize to do for fire safety?
Um, the presentation coming up this afternoon or early evening by Mike Jones is going to be a good place to start, and you can look at the UC A&R site. But home hardening, what we're recommending these days is that you start with the home out, the most vulnerable part of your home. And so you can go to our website too, and let me, safeguarding your home is our first tab there. So click on the home hardening tab, and things are pretty much presented in order. You want to start with your roof, because the roof is the most vulnerable, the biggest part of your home that can catch embers. So you start there by finding if there are like loose places where embers might catch. You want to make sure that it is clean. You want to, and the website will sort of walk you through the ways to look for vulnerabilities there. If you do nothing else, clean out your gutters as a first step, because that's an easy place for sparks to catch and cause everything else to go. And then you start working your way out with your roof, and then vents is probably the next in importance, and then that first 5 feet around the home. So doing a project of walking around and looking for places where embers can catch, looking for things that are flammable, making sure if you have bark up against your house, scooching it away from those 5 feet. So you don't want to have flammable things abutting your home. And then from there, you sort of work your way gradually out, thinning and clearing and making sure your vegetation is healthy. That's another one of the kind of the misnomers. People tend to ask for plant lists and which plants are good and which plants are bad. And there is some difference, certainly. Conifers are more flammable than oaks. So if you're thinning things, you want to get rid of conifers in preference to the oaks. But the biggest overall thing is that healthy plants are less flammable than non-healthy and stressed plants. So for the things around your home, you want to, lean and green. You want to have them spread out so they don't catch. If one of them does catch fire, there's nothing next touching it directly to catch. And you want to make sure that they're healthy and well taken care of so that they're able to resist flames. And that's probably quite a bit to begin with. We covered a lot there. So.
Thank you. Do you guys go to people's home and discuss a plan with them?
Well, I mean, these days nobody goes to homes. If you organize a neighborhood fire safe council, we can help come out and teach a group. We don't have staff. We don't have staff. Period. We are an almost all part-time. We don't have staff to go home by home and do that kind of visit. However, that is something that your local fire department and or CAL FIRE can do and does do. So you can request those kind of assessments from them. At this particular moment in history, it's going to be a little while before they can get to you, likely, because they're all 100% committed to working on fires at the moment. But if you have some patience, that's a resource you can go to for a more individual assessment.
That's great. Okay. I just want to remind anyone that's watching on Facebook or in Zoom right now, we have another 4 minutes. So if you have any questions you want us to ask of the speaker, go ahead and put it in the comment section or the Q&A section. This video will be up on Facebook and YouTube for later viewing as well. And we are talking with Scott CRATTY from the Mendocino County Fire Safe Council, the Executive Director. So one of the questions we have here is, How often does a fire council meet?
Again, as quirky an individual as Mendocino County people, it's as often as you have the energy to meet. I mean, there are some councils that have regular large-scale meetings, like Sherwood Firewise. There's a schedule, and I think they have at least monthly meetings, and have subgroups that meet. The one in my particular neighborhood hasn't met since we did a large project in spring. So it's all about doing as much as you can do. Don't stress about whether you're meeting some prescribed number of if you're not going to be able to meet 3 times, don't do it. If you can meet once and generate some energy and hopefully get enough people interested to set up a second meeting, you start there.
That's great. Thank you. Okay, another question is, there's a lot of work about trees being cut by power lines. How much work is done about the trees that hang over the roads? So I think they're talking about, yeah.
Yeah, as a rule, there's not, that I'm aware of, a source for funding for dealing with trees that are kind of a hazard over a road but not near a power line. There are a lot of things that could use attention that we just don't have resources to tend to. Depending if it's in the county right of way, there's some possibility you can get the county to look at it. If it's on a homeowner's property, it's pretty much the homeowner's responsibility to deal with it if it's a hazard for the roadway. Other than that, it really depends on what funding becomes available. We've on the access roads that we've done in the Ukiah Valley Fire Fuels Reduction Project, when we had funding for a crew, they came in with a bucket truck. And on the roads that were selected and funded for that project, we were able to deal with that, but we don't have resources to deal with it in other places where there's not specific grant funding. So that's a place we hopefully will find funding in the future, is to go look for hazard tree situations and help with that. But as a side note to that, funding is hard to come by these days. The big round of CAL FIRE funding that we were hoping to queue up the next big set of important projects with was supposed to be released in August, at the end of August, and it has not been because the California budget did not budget for it. So there was $51 million worth of planned projects for next year that the application round just never opened up for, and it may or may not become available. So we're not quite sure where the funding for the next big set of projects will come from.
So a lot of your guys' funds and resources are volunteers and then grants. Do you guys do fundraising too?
We do. We have membership. So membership is greatly appreciated. That helps us have a source of funds that's not encumbered for any particular thing. So it allows us the luxury of being able to get somebody to go out to neighborhood meetings and events when those start happening. But we had, when I took the job in January, one of the things that my predecessor wanted to do was to do a large fundraiser. We've never done one for ourselves before, and that was kind of on the agenda, but the whole COVID state of the world has kind of just pushed that off the to-do list for now.
Right. Okay, well, I think that wraps up our meeting. I would like to thank you, Scott Cratty, for joining us today. A lot of information that we'll put on our YouTube channel and Facebook. And we will also share your information in your websites and your upcoming events as well on there. So I think that's a lot of great information to share with the public. So we'll make sure that's on the Facebook post. Our next meeting is at 1 o'clock, possibly with Rich Maroney of Emergency Animal Shelter. He may be doing something emergency related, so stay tuned, but hopefully he can meet us. Otherwise, we'll reschedule that. Is there anything else that you'd like to finish with, Scott Gray?
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. If you get a chance, folks, take a look at our website. And yeah, if you, anyone who's interested in looking at creating a neighborhood council, please follow that interest. Take the next step.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
All right, good to meet you.